Every beginner who starts learning SAP MM quickly realizes one simple fact. Without T-codes, you can't move a single step inside the system. These transaction codes are the backbone of every process: procurement, inventory management, invoice verification. Everything runs on them. But here's the problem. Most beginners approach T-codes in the wrong way. They open a list, try to memorize them like passwords, and maybe they even succeed in remembering a few. But when they step into a real company, when they face real business processes, they freeze. Because knowing the code alone doesn't mean you understand the process. And SAP is all about process. That's exactly why this video is different. I'm not here to throw a list of codes at you. I'm here to break down the top 10 most important SAP MM T-codes you need as a beginner. For each code, I'll explain what it does, how it fits into the bigger business workflow, give you a real-world example of how it's used, and point out the most common mistakes that beginners make. By the end of this video, you won't just know the T-codes, you'll understand them. And that's the difference between someone who just presses buttons in SAP and someone who actually becomes a consultant. Now, before we dive in, if you're serious about building a career in SAP, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Every week, I upload tutorials, guides, and career tips that help you master SAP faster and smarter. Trust me, subscribing now will save you months of confusion later. All right, let's begin. The very first T code you need to know, and the place where almost every procurement process starts, is ME51N, Purchase Requisition. Part 2, ME51. N, Purchase Requisition. The very first step in the procure-to-pay process is MI51N, Purchase Requisition. Think of this as the official way for someone inside the company to say, "Hey, I need this material or service." In real life, imagine you're working in a manufacturing plant. The production team runs out of spare parts. Instead of just calling the procurement department, they log into SAP and create a purchase requisition in ME51N. Here they enter what they need, the quantity, and sometimes even a suggested vendor. Why is this important? Because purchase requisitions bring structure and control. Every company wants to know who is requesting something. Is it within budget? Do we really need it? With ME51N, managers can approve or reject the request before it becomes an actual purchase order. One common mistake beginners make is ignoring the organizational data, like plant or storage location. If you create a requisition with the wrong plant, the process gets stuck. Another issue is adding vague descriptions. Always be specific, because this document flows through the entire process. So, ME51N isn't just a code to remember. It's the trigger point for the entire procurement cycle. Without it, there's no purchase order, no goods receipt, and no invoice. It all starts here. Part 3, ME21N, Purchase Order. Once a purchase requisition is approved, the next step is to create a formal order to the vendor. And that's where ME21N, Purchase Order, comes in. A purchase order, or PO, is not just another document in SAP. It's a legal contract between the company and the vendor. When you create a PO in MIGO21N, you're telling the vendor exactly what the company wants, how much, at what price, and when it should be delivered. This document is sent directly to the vendor, and from that moment, the company and vendor are bound by it. Let's imagine a scenario. Your company needs 100 laptops for a new office. The IT department raised a requisition, it got approved, and now in ME21N, you create the purchase order. You select the vendor, add the material, set the price and delivery date. Once saved, the vendor receives this PO and is expected to deliver on time. Why is ME21N so critical? Because if the PO is wrong, everything else falls apart. Wrong vendor, wrong price, missing delivery date, the entire process will suffer. That's why consultants and users spend a lot of time double-checking purchase orders. A quick tip: always review the Conditions tab in ME21N. It shows pricing, discounts, and payment terms. Beginners often ignore this and end up with payment mismatches later. So, ME21N is not just about data entry, it's about creating a clear agreement with the vendor. And it's the backbone of procurement in SAP MM. Part 4, MIGO, Goods Receipt. 270 words. After the purchase order is sent to the vendor, the next big milestone is when the goods physically arrive. And in SAP MM, that moment is recorded using MIGO, Goods Receipt. Think about it this way. A company ordered 100 laptops from a vendor. The truck pulls up to the warehouse and delivers the boxes. Now it's not enough for the warehouse staff to just stack them on shelves. They must also update the system, because until SAP shows those materials as received, they don't officially exist in the company's stock. That's exactly what MIGO does. When you post a goods receipt in MIGO, the system updates inventory levels instantly. The material stock increases, the purchase order gets updated to show that items were received, and behind the scenes, the finance module FI also records the value of the goods. So MIGO is not only a logistic step, it's also an accounting step. One common mistake beginners make in MIGO is choosing the wrong movement type. For example, 101 means a standard goods receipt, while other codes are for returns, transfers, or subcontracting. If you select the wrong one, it creates huge reporting issues later. Another mistake is posting against the wrong storage location, which leads to stock discrepancies. My tip for you: always double-check the quantity, movement type, and storage location before posting. MIGO might seem like just receiving goods, but in reality it connects logistics, finance, and procurement in one single step. Without MIGO, your company would never know if the vendor actually delivered what was promised. Part 5. MIRO, Invoice Verification. Once the goods are received in MIGO, the next step is making sure the vendor gets paid correctly. And that's where MIRO, Invoice Verification, comes in. In simple terms, MIRO performs the famous three-way match: purchase order, goods receipt, and vendor invoice. The system checks: did we actually receive what we ordered, and is the invoice amount correct? Only if everything matches does the company approve payment. Here's a scenario: your company ordered 100 laptops for $50,000. The vendor delivers them, the warehouse confirms receipt in MIGO, and then the vendor sends an invoice. In MIRO, you post that invoice and the system automatically compares it to the PO and GR. If the invoice says $55,000, SAP raises a block because it doesn't match. Common mistake: beginners often forget to check the invoice reference or payment terms. This leads to duplicate invoices or delayed payments. Always cross-check these fields. Why does MIRO matter so much? Because paying vendors incorrectly is one of the costliest mistakes in procurement. With MIRO, companies protect themselves from overpayments and fraud. So remember, MIGO confirms you receive the goods, but MIRO ensures you only pay for what you truly received. Part 6, MM01, Material Master Creation. In SAP MM, everything starts with materials, and the way to create them is through double M01, Material Master Creation. A Material Master Record is like the DNA of a product. It contains all the essential data about a material, its description, unit of measure, valuation class, purchasing details, and more. Without this, you cannot buy, store, or sell the material in SAP. Let's take an example. Your company starts producing a new smartphone. Before procurement or sales can happen, someone must create the material master using MM01. You'll enter technical details, assign it to plants, and define purchasing and accounting views. Once saved, the material can flow across the entire supply chain. One common beginner mistake is creating materials with incomplete views. For example, if you forget to maintain purchasing data, the material can't be ordered. Another issue is duplicating materials, which confuses reporting. My tip: always follow company naming conventions and check which views are required. Remember, a material master is not just one field, it's dozens of fields that drive multiple processes. So MM01 is the foundation. If you get it right, your system runs smoothly. If you get it wrong, the errors follow you everywhere. Part 7, XK01, Vendor Master Creation. On the other side of procurement, we have vendors, and to create them, you use XK01-Vendor Master Creation. A vendor master record stores everything about a supplier: their name, address, company code details, purchasing data, bank information, and payment terms. Without a vendor master, you can't create a purchase order or pay the supplier. Example: imagine onboarding a new logistics company as a vendor. In XK01, you enter their tax details, assign them to your company code, and set payment terms like net 30 days. Now, procurement can order services and finance can pay them correctly. The biggest mistake beginners make is duplicating vendors. Two records for the same supplier create chaos in reporting and payments. Another issue is forgetting banking details, which delays payments. Tip: always check if the vendor already exists in the system before creating a new one. Consistency saves time and prevents issues. So XK01 is about more than data entry. It's about building a reliable supplier base inside SAP. Part 8, MI11, Purchasing Info Record. Now that we have materials and vendors, we need to link them together. That's done with MIGO11, Purchasing Info Record. An info record connects a material to a specific vendor, storing details like prices, delivery times, and purchasing conditions. It's what makes SAP procurement smarter because the system remembers vendor material history. Example: your company buys steel rods from vendor A at $100 per ton with 7-day delivery. You create an info record in ME11. Next time someone raises a requisition, SAP suggests vendor A automatically with those conditions. Common mistake? Beginners forget to update info records when conditions change. Imagine the price rises to $120, but the old record is still active. The system keeps suggesting outdated data, which frustrates both procurement and vendors. Tip: Treat info records like living data. Keep them updated to reflect real contracts. So, ME11 reduces manual work and ensures consistent purchasing decisions across the company. Part 9, MB1A/MB1B, Goods Issue and Transfer. Procurement isn't just about receiving goods, sometimes stock leaves or moves. That's where MB1A, Goods Issue, and MB1B, Stock Transfer, come in. MB1A is used when materials leave the warehouse. For example, spare parts issued to a production line or scrapped items. Posting in MB1A reduces stock levels and updates inventory. MB1B is used when transferring stock from one storage location to another. Imagine moving 500 units from the Istanbul warehouse to Ankara. MB1B ensures both stock accounts are updated instantly. Beginners often confuse movement types. Using the wrong type, like 201 versus 261, can cause huge reporting errors. Another issue is forgetting to specify the correct plant and storage location. My tip: always double-check the movement type before posting. Inventory accuracy is one of the most critical KPIs in SAP. So, MB1A and MB1B keep the warehouse running accurately, ensuring stock levels reflect reality. Part 10, ME2N, Purchase Order List. Finally, we come to ME2N, Purchase Order List, one of the most practical reporting T-codes in SAP MM. ME2N gives users a complete overview of all purchase orders in the system. Procurement teams use it daily to track open orders, delivery statuses, and payment progress. Example, your manager asks, how many POs from last month are still open? With ME2N, you can filter by date, vendor, or material, and instantly generate the list. This T-code is powerful for consultants too because end users love clear visibility. If you show a buyer how to use ME2N effectively, you'll gain credibility fast. Common mistake: beginners run the report without filters, ending up with massive data dumps that are impossible to analyze. Always narrow it down by vendor, material, or PO date. So ME2N is not about creating new documents. It's about giving procurement control and insight into the entire purchasing pipeline. Part 11, Wrap Up and Final CTA. So there you have it, the top 10 SAP MM T-codes every beginner must know. Let's quickly recap. We started with ME51N to create a purchase requisition, then moved to ME21N for purchase orders. We saw how MIGO confirms goods arriving in the warehouse, and how MIRO ensures vendors are paid correctly. Then we explored the backbone of data in SAP, MM01 for materials and XK01 for vendors. After that, we connected them with ME11 info records, tracked stock movements with MB1A and MB1B, and finally gave managers visibility using ME2N. But here's the thing: don't just memorize these codes. Anyone can memorize a list. The real value comes from understanding how they connect into a process. That's what makes you valuable as an SAP consultant. So here's my challenge to you. Open your SAP training system, try out these T-codes, and map them against a simple business scenario, like buying office supplies or raw materials. You'll see the entire procure-to-pay process come to life. If you found this video helpful, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. It helps this channel grow, and it makes sure you don't miss the next tutorials. Also, check the link in the description for a free SAP career checklist. It's the exact roadmap to kickstart your SAP journey in 2025. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.